Okay, so let's talk about the European Union's single market. On the surface, it just works. You click a button, you buy something, it shows up at your door. But underneath all that beautiful simplicity, there's this vast, kind of invisible system of rules that makes the whole thing possible. Today, we're going to peek behind the curtain and see the hidden machinery that keeps EU commerce running.
You've probably done this 100 times, right? You're browsing online, you find that perfect thing. Maybe it's a rare vinyl record, a cool piece of furniture, whatever. And you see it's for sale in, say, Germany or Spain. You don't even think twice. You add it to your cart, click buy, and in a few days, boom, it's there. Looks easy, doesn't it? Well, not quite.
You see, that one little click of yours, it kicks off this incredibly complex chain of events. Think digital handshakes, tax calculations, all happening across borders without you ever seeing it. To really get our heads around it, we're going to follow the journey of one single package as it makes its way across the EU. So our story starts with a simple click, a purchase that connects two people in two different countries. But this is really where the journey is just getting started.
All right, let's set the scene. Over here, we've got a small specialized camera shop in Romania. And way over here, a photographer in Portugal who just found the exact secondhand camera they've been looking for. The photographer clicks buy. And now the real journey, the invisible one, begins.
The very first challenge our camera has to deal with is totally invisible. It's tax, specifically value-added tax, or VAT. This one simple purchase creates a tax event, but it also raises a huge question. Which country actually gets to collect that tax?
So a quick refresher on what VAT even is. It's basically a tax on stuff we buy. It gets added to the price of pretty much all goods and services. And while businesses are the ones who collect it and send it to the government, it's us, the final consumer, like our photographer in Portugal, who actually pays for it.
So here it is, the big question. Does Romania get the tax money, since that's where the shop is? Or does Portugal get it, because that's where the camera is being delivered? This is the exact kind of problem the EU had to solve with a single, clear, Europe-wide rule.
And the answer is Romania. The EU's rule is actually pretty straightforward. The tax is owed in the country where the journey starts. This whole place of supply concept is fundamental. It means sellers don't have to get tangled up in the tax systems of all 27 member states. It creates one single, predictable point of taxation.
Now, why do it this way? Is it just to be complicated? Absolutely not. The directive itself says it right here. The whole point is to facilitate trade, to make it easier. Having one clear rule like this stops things like double taxation or just pure chaos, which would turn cross-border shopping into a total nightmare.
Okay, so we know Romania gets the tax. But how does Portugal know this camera is legitimately on its way? And how does Romania know it actually arrived? Well, for that, our camera needs something that's basically a digital passport.
And that digital passport has a name, NCTS, the new computerized transit system. Just picture this massive electronic web that connects all the customs offices across the EU. It's the central nervous system for tracking everything in transit, making sure every package and the tax owed on it is accounted for, from the moment it leaves to the moment it arrives.
You can think of the NCTS as a kind of digital handshake. It's a four-step dance. First, the Romanian Customs Office pings Portugal, sending a message saying, hey, this package is on its way. Portugal's customs gets that message and says, got it, we're expecting it. Then, when the camera actually arrives in Portugal and gets scanned, another message zips back to Romania, saying it's here. Finally, Portugal closes the loop and the whole digital file is complete. It's this constant automated chatter that keeps everything accounted for.
Now, for a lot of stuff that's already moving around inside the EU, this process is much simpler, because those goods have something called union status. Think of it like a car with an EU license plate. You don't have to stop at every border and prove the car belongs there. It's just presumed to be okay. This is what makes the single market feel so seamless most of the time. But what about our camera?
This is where it gets really interesting. Our camera, remember, is second-hand. That puts it into a special category. And the EU system is surprisingly detailed when it comes to dealing with things that aren't just brand new products off a factory line.
I mean, just look at this. There are special tax rules for almost everything you can think of. Travel agents, farmers, even for gold bars. It just goes to show how specific the rules have to be to keep the market fair for everyone. And for our camera, the one that matters is right at the top. The special scheme for secondhand goods.
And here is the really clever part. Because our camera is secondhand, the VAT isn't charged on the full price the photographer paid. No, the rules say the shop in Romania only has to pay VAT on its profit margin, so the difference between what they bought the camera for and what they sold it for. This is such a smart rule because it prevents the same item from getting taxed at its full value over and over again, which really helps encourage a market for used goods.
So we've followed our camera from a simple click in Portugal through a special tax rule in Romania, all tracked by a digital passport. You know, it seems incredibly complicated. So why? Why does all this matter? What is the big picture here? Well, the legal text itself basically tells us. The whole point of this incredibly detailed system comes down to two simple things. First, making sure the right amount of tax gets collected, and second, stopping fraud and tax evasion. It's the framework that builds trust and makes the whole thing work.
And that framework has to operate on a truly mind-boggling scale. We're not talking about rules for a single country. We're talking about a single market of over 450 million people, enabling trillions of euros in trade every single year.
So when that camera finally arrives safely at the photographer's door in Portugal, it's not some kind of magic trick. It's the result of this huge, complicated, and mostly invisible system working perfectly in the background. Which kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. Is it an overly complex web of red tape? Or is this just the necessary and maybe even elegant price you have to pay for a single market of 450 million people? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.